A federal judge has ordered Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the Maryland man who was deported to El Salvador in March, to be immediately released from ICE custody. U.S. District Judge Paula Zinnes says Abrego Garcia has been held, quote, without lawful authority. The 30-year-old was brought back to the U.S. in June. He was then charged with human smuggling, to which he has pleaded not guilty. Abrego Garcia is currently being held in a detention facility in Pennsylvania. Spokesperson for the Department of Homeland Security says the order lacks, quote, any valid legal basis, and the administration will continue to fight it in the courts. The Justice Department declined to comment. I want to bring in CBS News Department of Justice reporter Jake Rosen. Jake, why did the judge ultimately order his release, and what happens next?
Well, Lindsay, going back to the first hearing in this case back in March of earlier this year, a Department of Justice lawyer who has since left the department and become a whistleblower about these matters, about the Trump administration's deportation efforts and specifically what happened with Kilmar Abrego Garcia, said that there was no order of removal for Mr. Abrego Garcia to be removed from the United States. That came up repeatedly throughout court filings, and it was this judge's sole reason for why she said Kilmar Abrego Garcia needs to be released from ICE detention now. After he was brought back to face those charges, in which there's a trial still pending for late January, the ICE and the Trump administration, I should say, re-detained him, saying that they were planning on removing him to a third-party country. They named 4 different ones in Africa before his potential trial. And really what it came down to was these back and forth, these ping-pongs between Abrego Garcia's attorneys claiming that he cannot be sent to these countries, which a judge has to sign off on, and the Trump administration picking these different countries. This judge basically accused the Department of Justice by naming these countries, basically delaying repeatedly, of basically finding a way for the last 4 or 5 months or so to detain Abrego Garcia without proper due process and without proper legal authority to do so. So while he's waiting for a potential final deportation order to be removed from the country or to face these criminal charges on human trafficking, or smuggling, I should say, early next year, kind of what Abrego Garcia's situation is now is right back where he was a couple of months ago, where he's going to be a free man living with his family in Maryland, while the Trump administration Justice Department is intending on prosecuting him, and the Department of Homeland Security will seemingly find a way to at least move to deport him. Which happens first, and whether this trial actually happens, remains to be seen.
Okay, let's talk about what's happening in Wisconsin. Jury selection beginning in the trial of that Milwaukee County Judge Hannah Dugan, accused of helping a Mexican immigrant avoid arrest earlier this year. What are you watching for in this case, and what consequences does she face if she's found guilty?
Well, Judge Dugan, who's a local judge in the city of Wisconsin, faces potentially 5 years of prison for each of the 2 federal charges that she's facing. The big thing is the Trump administration going after judges for standing in the way of immigration priorities. And the situation and the indictment that Dugan faces is rather incriminating, because it's accused that she basically told this defendant to go out the back stairwell and then distracted federal law enforcement while they were attempting to detain and arrest this man who has since been deported since Dugan was charged back to his home country. Basically, she led him the right way, while federal law enforcement, she said, according to federal prosecutors, were sent the wrong way. Whether the Justice Department can come up with a jury to convict Dugan is one thing. We've seen a lot of questions about the Trump administration's, weaker evidence in these cases. But at the other time, Dugan and her attorneys have said she was simply seeking rules actually ahead of this of what to do when immigration authorities have come to sensitive places like a courthouse. She had not received clear instructions, so they said her actions were justified. And earlier this year, they said that she had immunity, and a judge who's overseeing this case did not buy that argument. Certainly a high-profile stake case, especially when you think about a judge who's gotten in the way of these immigration efforts.
Jake Rosen, thank you.